Welcome to the Digital Business Evolution Podcast, a place that you can now call home. I know you're creating long-lasting impact in this world, and you absolutely deserve the time, location, career, and financial freedom that you desire. I'm here to guide you with proven strategies, tools, and mindset hacks that I've taught to thousands of business owners. You'll also be hearing from exceptional guests sharing stories of their own personal and business evolution. My name is Jessica DeRose, and I'm here to teach you what I'm learning. We are all inherently worthy, regardless of the number of degrees, awards, and accolades that we've collected along the way. Grab a notebook, a coffee, and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back. I'm so excited for this episode. I know I say it every time, but this one is extra special. We not only have our first guest on, but this is a really special guest, and I might be biased, but I'd love to introduce you in just a moment to someone who's going to be on the podcast on the reg. That's what they say, right? On the reg, on the regular? I think so. So this is a guest that we're bringing on to, of course, have fun, candid conversations, to open up behind the scenes, and to bring tons of value and expertise in things that I just, quite frankly, can't talk about. I don't really know much about. So without further ado, could you give me a drum roll? Ladies and gentlemen, Michael DeRose, the one and only. So Mike DeRose is not only my partner in crime, as they say, which we don't do crime, so he's really just my partner, but he's also my husband. He is the CEO of Digital Business Evolution, and he's also the CFO of Digital Business Evolution. So Mike, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Super excited to be here. We were laughing before the episode because I kept saying unique New York. Unique New York.
Really practicing.
I'm practicing my,
I love it.
What is it, alliteration?
Yeah, your podcast voice.
Jess doesn't even know what I'm talking about because she's probably one of the 0.001% people in America that haven't seen Anchorman. So,
No, we watched it. I just fell asleep.
She falls asleep every movie. She picks, falls asleep. She picks, falls asleep. So,
but for the record, I fall asleep when I don't pick as well.
You are consistent with falling asleep, which is why I should always pick the movie.
True.
Regardless,
True.
Here I am.
Here you are.
This is super exciting. I love that the first time is in a pretty random Airbnb as we head across the country. But I know it's been a long time coming for us, and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, this is so fun. So these episodes are not going to be very professional and serious and edited, and they will be well thought out, but they're definitely more of a behind the scenes look. We'd love you to feel like you're sitting in the room with us. So let me paint a picture for you for a second. We are currently sitting in Airbnb, like Mike said, in Austin, Texas, which we'll do a whole episode on our drive cross country and why we're doing it. But we have a mural painted on the wall next to us, behind us, and it actually says good vibes only. It's got cactus. It's got a giant whale. I don't understand why. But it's really cute. It has tall buildings like New York City. And I personally love the clouds and how they're outlined. So maybe if you're lucky, you'll see some of the video up somewhere. I don't know where.
It's a good place to start. It's a good place to start the joint podcast. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So can you tell the audience a little bit about just your background? Because they know a lot about me. So where are you from? How did we meet?
Yeah.
Just give us the rundown.
Yeah, definitely. And real quick too, I think it's important to say, like, again, what you just said, we want these to be real raw. Our dog is here.
Yeah.
We're going to be in random Airbnbs and just taking you with us. There'll be times when we will be in our house, and it will be probably a little more studio, but who knows? But we wanted it to be like this. But yeah, so who am I? Grew up in the Northeast in Massachusetts. Went to school in Rhode Island, which is funny because Jess also went to school in Rhode Island, but we did not know each other. And I spent the last 11 years working for a big bank in New York City. That kind of shaped who I was, who I thought I was, all that good stuff. Had a lot of fun, had a great career trajectory. And then we decided to make some pretty big life changes.
Yeah. You just skipped over a ton. So.
Well, you told me to keep the episode a little condensed, and I can get a little out of control with my stories. It's either all or nothing with me, right? So why do you want me to tell the people?
Let's backtrack for a second.
All right.
So grew up in the Northeast, Massachusetts guy.
Yep.
played hockey.
Yeah. So, I mean, hockey pretty much ran my life. I came from a middle-class family. My dad did everything for me. My parents did everything for me to be able to go to the high school I went to. It was a private high school so that I could play, try to play hockey there. I was an only child. They sacrificed everything for me to just to have a great life.
Yeah.
Grew up across the street from my grandparents. That was a dream. Italian American, so I ate very well, and I was always taken care of. I was kind of the prince of the family.
Kind of.
Everybody in the family makes fun of me. My mom was cutting my steak until I was like, you know what? I was in my teens. I don't want to tell you.
So I had really big shoes to fill coming in, but all right, went to college in Providence. So you went to Providence College.
Providence College.
Do you have any PC people out there? If you're a PC person or a URI person, Rhody Rams, let us know in the DMs because then, we went to school together, basically. And we're kindred spirits.
Yeah. PC was a small private Catholic school in Rhode Island. And I went there because my mom was battling cancer in college when I was in college, and I thought it would be a good idea to be home. Also, it's a pretty good school, so I was thrilled when I got into it. So I was like, you know what, this will be great. I'm 30 minutes from home, so I was able to live at school and have the full college experience, and it was definitely a full college experience. Other than the fact that I don't know what you and I were thinking going to school in the Northeast, because now that we live in a warm climate, I'm like, why didn't we go to school in Arizona? Crazy. But that's beside the point. So yeah, I lived close to home.
Sledding down on
the snow days. The snow days.
The snow days were so fun.
The snow days were fun. Yeah. I will say that the snow days were fun.
Yeah.
So I lived relatively close to home. I was able to go home very easily for the holidays, which was important to me because, again, I grew up near family. My aunt and uncle were a couple towns over. My grandparents were across the street. The family was pretty close, so it was nice to do that. And then in 2010, I transferred with Bank of America down to Manhattan, which I was, again, really excited about. It was like a big change in my life. I was excited to be working in New York City. New York City used to give me so much anxiety. I mean, for the people who have been there and only visited maybe once or twice, you know what I'm talking about. You go there and it's overwhelming, right?
Well, it appears dirty because you get out at Port Authority.
Yeah, and you're on 7th Avenue and things like that. Right. But
tourists and stuff.
When you and I lived there, and I know we're going to probably get to that at some point.
Such a dream. Yeah.
Living there is a different story. Working there and not living there is a different story too. And I did that for a while. But when I lived there, I really appreciated the city. So, I mean, that's really my background. And for those of you who don't know, I met Jess through a mutual friend.
Shout out Ash.
Yeah. At this thing called Hoboken St. Patrick's Day. It's basically, I don't even know if they allow it anymore. I think someone told me they do, but
it's probably watered down. This was 10 years ago.
It's probably watered down, but essentially it's the first Saturday of every March, and Hoboken is filled with a lot of young professionals, and a lot of young professionals still think they're in college. And the city basically shuts down on that Saturday, but the bars don't. And fun fact about Hoboken, it has the most bars per square mile in the country. I believe that's accurate.
Yeah, and it would start with green bagels and turn into green beer.
And it starts at 10 a.m. Look, there's stuff like this all across the country, but this is a special thing in Hoboken. The people who have families hate it. The politicians hate it. I think they tried to shut it down. Everyone hates it. People get arrested. There's fights, all sorts of things like that. That's where I met Jess Glazer.
That's very true.
Yeah. Introduced by a mutual friend, and the rest, as they say, is history. So, there you go, babe. Is that enough background? Did I miss anything that you wanted me to include?
So talk to me for a second. We've been together 10 years, and in those 10 years, we've lived many different places, and we sort of lived a couple different lives together. But with the bank, you progressed quickly. So we were together 10 years, and I guess 8 of those years, you were with the bank, 8.5 years. And it seemed like every year and a half, you were getting a promotion. Every 2 years, you were getting a promotion. And you sort of worked your way up the corporate ladder for lack of a better term. And before we decided to have you, quote unquote, retire and leave your job from the bank, you ultimately got the job that you wanted and you had been working towards. So we're going to talk a lot about you leaving and your role there. Can you just give us a little, paint a picture of what it was that you were doing just holistically at your corporate job?
Yeah, absolutely. So previous to the bank, I worked for a company that had a manager training program. So it was a great transition into the bank. And I was working in the consumer division. So when you walk into a bank or a financial center, as we called them, that was the division that I worked for. So when I first started back in 2009, I was green to banking. So I took, I don't want to say a lower level position, but I mean, it was considering my experience. I was an assistant,
more entry level.
Yeah, for me, I was an assistant manager at a actual branch, right? And I was learning all about the operations of the bank. My experience that I had was people management, right? So that obviously translates right over. What didn't translate over was what I didn't know, which was all the operations of the bank and the culture of the bank and things like that, which it's whatever work you put into it, that's how fast you can learn. So when I transferred down to New York City, I was still an assistant manager for about a year and a half because in Manhattan, they thought they were better than everyone. So they're like, no, you can't be a branch manager down here yet. You have to be an assistant manager. I was like, all right, fine. So I was an assistant manager for, I want to say maybe a year and a half or so. And then I became a branch manager. Now, what does that mean, right? So I was managing the sales, the customer service, and the operations of the financial center with either a co-assistant manager or my financial center manager when I was the assistant manager. When I became the financial center manager, I was managing the center, right? The job I wanted to be a market leader or a district manager. They're called different things at different companies, which essentially would have been a territory manager running multiple branches and then just to continue on from there. So that was the position Jess was alluding to that. Yeah, I mean, I wanted that position for a while. It took me a little longer than I kind of set this expectation in my head, right? I saw some other people getting this job and I got passed on a few times, but I think like a lot of things, it was great lessons and the timing was the timing that it should have been. And when I got into the position, I feel like I thrived at it. I did very well. And that wasn't until, when was that? 2018? 2018, I became a market leader. So I was running 9 financial centers in the northern part of Manhattan. And we had a great time. We had some great results. And then right before I left, things were a little crazy and a little chaotic at in all companies because of the pandemic. But I was running 2 territories.
Yeah. You had like 200 direct reports, right?
Not direct. So there was 200 people reporting up to me. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how many directs, maybe 50 or 40 directs, which that's kind of a lot when you think about managing them as individuals. But yeah, there was 16 financial centers trying to manage them effectively through a time that no one had ever seen before, right? Yeah. When you think about the things that we were doing during the pandemic, because for those who didn't know, the branches were open.
Yeah, essential workers.
They were considered essential workers. So a lot of the listeners might, do all their banking on a mobile phone and might say, well, I don't just understand, why do people even go into the branches? But believe it or not, we had a lot of people still coming in.
You also were helping manage and work out of the flagship, then literally Bank of America Tower, right in the center.
Yeah, so that was really what started to really shift everything for me and really catapult me. And I was able to meet so many influential people, so many executives, so many people that really helped get my brand out there, but also helped me shape my brand at the bank. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for that position. I was working in Bryant Park, right on the corner of 42nd and 6th, right in the middle of the city in the Bank of America Tower. And I'm just really grateful that I was one of the managers that got to, when I was a financial center manager, I was the one managing that financial center, which we called our flagship. And then that was the position that kind of catapulted me into into the market leader,
Yeah.
district manager position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All humbly said, it was incredible watching him juggle all the different people. And one of the things that I've always seen in you, and you talk about pretty openly, and it was sort of a secret weapon of yours, is your ability to seek out talent, to see talent. Mike's got great intuition, and just impeccable with hiring. So all things that we're now using in our business, digital business evolution, together. And I want to shift gears for a second. So at this point, you're the CEO, so really kind of executive officer as well as FO, right? So financial officer, anything really having to do with money, legal, contracts, stuff like that. Not HR, but more of the operational stuff is on the legal and financial side is stuff that you're handling. And then I'm really the CVO, so I'm the visionary. But the funny thing is, you're also a visionary. And when we first started toying with the idea of crazy, stupid idea time, which we love to play, maybe one day you'll come into the business. Maybe one day I'll be able to, quote unquote, retire you. We thought for sure that you'd be stepping in to do the more operational COO. In our line of work, it's often called the integrator. We thought, yeah, that's what you do. You manage people. So you'll come in and you'll manage the team and you'll project manage. And it was pretty quickly when you did come in, and I want to talk about that transition, but it was pretty quickly that we realized, wait a minute, you're also a visionary. You don't really like doing that project management stuff. You've done it because you sort of had to at the bank, but that's not where you thrive. So now we're both visionaries sort of sitting in this role, but it was my brand or my company initially. It's just I had started it, and I'm more of the forward-facing person. So it's been an interesting transition. So I want to talk for a second about the conversations that we had when you left your job. Because, and I'm open to share whatever you're open to share, but I know we had some pretty big lofty numbers that we thought, when we hit this number, then you can leave your job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, man, there's so much to unpack. We could have an episode
we'll
on
do
like,
a full episode.
Yeah. We could have an episode on like how I decided, how and why I decided to leave, what that was like. We could do an episode on like the mindset stuff that I went through, because 2021 was a super challenging year for us as individuals, us as a couple, us, business owners, things like that. But yeah, I mean, so I think it's important to say, and I tell this to everybody, You loved your job. I loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
There was parts of it that I didn't like. And what's interesting, and we'll get into this, I didn't know this. The parts I didn't like are the reason why I'm not pulled towards the integrator or COO, more of an operational type of role. I hated operations when I worked at the bank. You know what? It actually, in a way, helped me be good at my job at the bank, because I delegated so much of the operations to people in the financial center. If I was the manager, I would delegate it to my assistant manager. I didn't touch it.
Yeah. And
looking back, it's funny because there was times where I would get pushback from people saying like, you need to know the operations. And I looked at it as like, look, we can be stronger by just leveraging the people around us. And that's a very cliche thing, and it's true, right? But I feel like that was always what helped me excel at the bank, because I was delegating things that I just didn't like to do, not out of laziness. It was out of a place where it wasn't aligned. It wasn't something that lit me up. Mm-hmm. What lit me up was engaging with the customers, managing the team, managing the sales, building out systems and things like that. Future casting, those type of things, right? Like coming up with ideas.
Yeah, but I think it's important to just note that for someone listening right now, one of the things that you had at the bank was a team. You had support, you had people to delegate with. And there are a lot of people listening to our podcast who maybe don't have a team, who don't have support yet. And so I'm really excited to share episodes where we can talk about, what does that look like? How can you start delegating? Because it doesn't even have to be team. There are ways that you can delegate on technology platforms. You can literally automate pieces of your business so that you don't have to be doing it anymore. Of course,
she's making this a teachable moment, even though this is supposed to be about me, but I'll let her continue.
No. It's never supposed to be about you. We're just introducing you so the audience knows who you are. Hey, I'm popping in real quick to let you know about a really incredible opportunity and offer, an invitation that the team and I are just putting out to the world. So I want to let you know about it while you're listening. It is Beyond Six Figures Mentorship, which is our newest container, but really it's not a new container at all. It's a reimagined, reinvented container that we just haven't held in a really long time. So Beyond Six Figures is a 6-month mentorship container, which is a really multifaceted approach to scaling your business, leadership, and income. I want you to think of it as 4 different parts. So part number 1 is going to be, of course, coaching and mentoring from me, as well as other industry experts. Part number 2 is all of the trainings and the portal or the course content that you're going to dive into whenever you want, wherever you want, and wherever you may be in your business. So I'm not walking you through this like a course that's step by step, but rather it's an entire course that you can dive into, whether you want to look at media and getting press and PR, you want to figure out how to hire your first person, you want to look at a new launch process, or maybe you want to launch your own podcast. All of this higher level content lives inside of a course that, of course, you get lifetime access to, but it's there for you to dive into whenever you need or want. Part number 3 is going to be the community that comes along with being in a high level container. And that community is people that you can collaborate with, of course, celebrate with, have those awkward conversations that not everybody else fully understands in your life. And let's face it, people to lean on and cry with, because scaling a business can feel really hard and heavy. And then the 4th part, which I am most excited about, oh my goodness, we have not done this since February or March of 2020, but it is an in-person mastermind retreat, which the idea of us all sitting around together inside of a cozy Airbnb with expansive views where we're going to get to learn from industry experts, the entire team at Digital Business Evolution, myself and each other, while eating yummy snacks and you know how it goes. I don't want to give away all the details, but the fact that we are bringing this back is so exciting. I've hosted dozens and dozens of retreats and events over the years, and I am literally jumping out of my skin with the idea that in August, we are going to be sitting together powwowing. I just cannot wait. So who is Beyond Six Figures for? Where can you find more information? Beyond Six Figures is for the coach or the entrepreneur who's already made money. Maybe you've even scaled kind of fast, so fast that the business is actually controlling you and you're kind of drowning in your work, working in the business all the time and never on the business. You definitely have clients and revenue, but you're looking to scale. Maybe you've built everything yourself completely organically or not, like I did, completely organically. And you know that it's time, it's actually beyond time to start outsourcing and delegating. But the fact of the matter is you don't have time to go looking for someone to hire. And you definitely don't have time to onboard or train somebody. And it's for the person who's hitting that consistent 10, 20, 30K month, maybe even 40K month. Maybe you're doing launch style stuff where you're hitting 50K launches, maybe 70K launches, maybe even consistent 30K launches, but you're ready to get to the next level. You've plateaued a bit. And so you really want to jump into the 50 to 100K month range, and you really want to look at hitting 6-figure launches. So the coolest thing is not only are you going to be learning from me and other industry experts, as I alluded to, but we are going to help you collapse time and navigate challenges with a zoomed out view of an unbiased perspective of your business. And when I say we, I mean the entire team at Digital Business Evolution. We're bringing in the big guns, and you're getting direct access to the leadership team at DBE. All things leadership, psychology, hiring, org chart, advanced launch systems, EPL, CPL, different types of marketing, bringing in affiliate programs, automations, restructuring your business, branding, reworking your messaging, the list goes on. So here's the deal. If you're interested in learning more, remember you are a seasoned entrepreneur or coach at this point. You're not a total newbie. You can head to the link in my show notes, all about Beyond Six Figures mentorship, or best thing to do is just text me the word mentorship to 973-358-7836. Again, text me mentorship 973-358-7836, and we can start the conversation to see if you're a good fit. Beyond Six Figures mentorship kicks off in June, and I would hate for you to miss the opportunity of a lifetime. Because you have so much to teach and share.
So anyway, I went off on a tangent there. I loved my job. I loved my boss. Things were going great. I could see where I was going to be in 3 to 5 years, as they say, right? I just knew it was going to happen. What was the original question, babe?
So I was talking about, we thought we needed X amount of dollars.
Yeah. So it wasn't a question in my mind. It was like, from a financial standpoint, it was like, okay, so that we're safe. Like, oh my goodness, we'll if Jess makes $1 million, I can't leave the bank. That's just $1 million. We need to keep, investing in the business and hiring people and growing the business. And also, I don't want to leave my job because I like it. So, but then 2020 happened, your business exploded, and we
Hold on, let's backtrack. So the question was, we thought we needed X amount of dollars before you could leave your job. So this had nothing to do with you liking your job.
Yeah.
And we were already doing 7 figures and your job wasn't bringing that in. So it was just this like crazy mindset thing that we both had to work through because it was a moot point. It's not that you were going to leave your job and that was bringing in $1 million. It wasn't. And ours was already doing that. So it was this weird mindset thing that we both had to overcome because we thought that we needed $5 million in the bank before we could retire you, quote unquote, retire you, or we needed to be doing $3 million a year before we could retire you.
And it was all based around fear.
Correct.
For both of us.
So what had happened in 2020 was we got a taste of life outside of New York City. We got a taste of life outside of the daily grind, if you will. So you were still working for the bank. They were you were working remotely. You were working remotely for a month, for a couple of weeks. And we were staying with my brother in North Carolina. And we had lived in New Jersey. Like we already had that life before New York City. We lived in New Jersey. We did the suburban thing. I was working as a teacher. You were commuting. But we sort of got this taste of, wait a minute, if you're not with the bank or if they were to let you work remote forever, we can live wherever we want.
Yeah.
And that's when things started to shift.
Well, I think, the city was completely shut down before the rest of the country was. We were in a beautiful apartment, but we were stuck in the apartment. Yeah. Could we go outside? Yes. But the city was just very, very strange. There was crime and all this. So we went down to North Carolina and it couldn't have been a better place, right? We went up into the mountains with your brother and Marina, and that was the time where, to Jess's point, we both, but more so me, got a taste of like, oh, this is what the entrepreneurs are doing. Like this is, they make their own schedule.
Which I had already been doing full-time for 3 years at that point. Full-time for 3 years.
3 years.
And part-time for another 5 on top of that.
Yeah, so even though I was like witnessing you do this, I would go off to work and I'd be like, what is she doing all day? But I knew she was working because I saw the impact and I saw the income. But yeah, so I got a taste of this entrepreneurial life. And again, it wasn't like we were doing nothing. Right. I was working my butt off, but it was in a much more comfortable environment. We had the flexibility to kind of do things that we wanted to do. So yeah, anyway, long story short, I got a taste of it. And there was people that also played a role as well. I had some deep conversations with your brother, who essentially said, like, Mike, the fear that you're expressing, the easiest way for me to say this is just, you can always go back to the bank or a bank-like managerial job. And that was true.
And it brought back the conversation that I left my job in 2017, which was from the podcast in 2016. What's the worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario. Exactly. But I didn't even want to almost at the time, I didn't want to go through that because I was happy at my job and I knew that things would change. But I was like, you know what? Almost like F you. To not walk away from, to me. Yeah. Who the hell do you think you are to not take this chance?
This opportunity, yeah.
This opportunity that most people don't get to either work alongside your wife or to have your wife support you until you figure out what it is that you want to do. Right. So that was a big shift for me as well. And then there were some people that were in our ecosystem that were kind of going through similar things, whether the breadwinner had shifted, the wives' businesses had taken off, and it was almost like that external validation where I was just like, wow, this isn't like completely crazy, which isn't always the greatest reason to make a decision. But having those conversations with these guys and these men was like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
You were borrowing
we're
the
all
evidence.
Doing this. Yeah. You borrow the evidence from people that, even though I was the first one out of our closer group of friends to do it. The conversation was happening. And I was like, oh, wow. So I'm not completely insane. This isn't coming from the wrong place. It's coming from the right place.
Right.
It's just really scary. So
totally. But I think for us, it was like when you make a pros and cons list, the pros list of getting to really, truly create the life of whatever we want it to look like, maybe snowbirding, right? Like having multiple homes, making our own schedule. When we started to play those pros of we could essentially have full autonomy in not just the business, but full autonomy in our life, that was more important to us than maybe having a stable paycheck. And that's something that's not for everyone. When we have to go down and look at our core drivers, Tony Robbins does the exercise. I think there's 7 core drivers. Some are safety, some is uncertainty, some of them are growth, some of them are, there's I think 7 different core drivers. So for us, we're learning at 38 and 39 that we're actually pretty okay with uncertainty. We like uncertainty. We like schedule, we like routine, but we also like, in some areas of our life, a little bit of uncertainty. And not having a steady paycheck coming in or not knowing where the next one's coming from could definitely feel unsettling.
Yeah, I mean, it's unsettling and also exhilarating because we get to push things into our machine and actually see the outcome.
Right.
Whereas opposed to, it's very small startup culture, which is so exciting. Yeah. But that took, I mean, when I first left my job, we're talking about paycheck. Okay, forget about the paycheck addiction. We're talking about, years and years, 37 years of conditioning that you grow up, you go to college, you get a job, you get a paycheck, you climb the corporate ladder and all that stuff, right? And that's great. Mm-hmm. That is phenomenal, right? And if I didn't live that life, we may not be in the position that we're in right now.
Correct.
Right? However, the other part of it is like the paycheck addiction, because you're addicted to the consistency. You're addicted to the safety. You can, it's easier to budget. Now we're kind of like, all right, I hate the term eat what you kill, kind of, because my wife's a vegan, so I don't like to say it in front of her. But
all those plants.
The truth is, we don't eat if we don't create. If we don't,
much better. Harvest.
Yeah, harvest. But the beautiful thing is, if we're eating, that means that we know that we're helping other people because our business is thriving. As well. Yeah. So I think from the outside and on Instagram and things like that, and people that don't know us intimately, is that the right word there?
Sure. Personally. Intimately.
Yes. Yeah. John, let me ask John. It may look like the decision was effortless.
Of course.
And although it happened quickly, right? It was a 2-week period where I was just like kind of a mess and in my head.
But it was months of talking about it.
The conversation had started, right? Oh, there's the dog growling.
Leave it. Shh, quiet.
So anyway, yeah, it was a 2-week period where we had a lot of conversation. And it was funny because I almost wanted Jess to tell me that she was okay with it.
And I wouldn't.
But she wouldn't say it. She really challenged me to kind of figure it out on my own. But part of me was like, is she just doing this because she loves me? Like, I don't want to blow up our life. I was going through all of this crazy emotion. And finally, we just like sat down and had this like deep conversation where I started to feel that she was okay with it. And I was not only okay with it, she wanted it because
I was supportive the entire time. I just never blanket statement told you to leave.
Because you didn't want to be responsible for me leaving the job that I love.
It wasn't my decision to make.
It wasn't your decision to make either.
So I fully supported whatever decision you made, and I would have all the conversations that you wanted to have. Because I also had just done the same thing 3.5 years prior, where you supported me in quitting my job with no safety net, you being the safety net. Right. But I didn't have another plan. I didn't have another job lined up.
Zero.
Nothing. So I refuse to give you the answer as like I do on my coaching calls.
And you know what's funny? Like when I explain this to people too, when I say like I loved my job and like working in the city and stuff, people that haven't experienced it, I don't think they quite understand what I mean. And I'm glad that I'm still saying what I was said when I initially left. Like I loved putting on my suit.
Yeah.
I loved putting on my cufflinks, throwing on a tie, wearing, my black shoes. I would go get them polished. Like I loved that stuff. And it wasn't about like ego or anything like that. It was fun to me.
French cufflinks, by the way.
my French cuffs that you put cufflinks in French cuff shirts, spread collar. Yeah. But yeah, I loved that stuff. And I loved the progress that I would see with the people that I made a lot of mistakes, right? We all grow and things like that. But I truly cared about my people, and the people that understood that, they knew it. And it was so fun. And even to this day, we just got a text. I
was just going to say, we got a text 2 days ago.
Two days ago that one of my managers, she was one of my managers when I left the bank. I wasn't reporting to her. She was reporting to me.
Right.
She just got a market leader role, which is the role that I had when I left. And I couldn't be more happy for this person.
We're recording right now in May, and you'll have been gone for 2 years in September.
Yeah, which is wild. Yeah, and exactly. That's a good point to know. It's been 2 years, and I get a text from her, and I don't think we've had a phone conversation. Yeah. And this was one of the people I was closest with, but we'll text every now and then. And I was thrilled to hear that.
Yeah.
Because the best part of what I was doing for me was watching people progress.
Right.
The hardest part was the people that I knew had the potential, and they just kind of,
But that's where you got to meet people where they're at. It's not up
totally.
to you.
And those were things that I had to learn and have helped me now in our journey here in this new business together that we have. So
the irony is, when you make a decision to do something like leave or go on to a new venture, you're still making an impact, because now you're the person who they're looking to. There are people at the bank that are using you as evidence, and they're borrowing the belief that it's possible, not just to quit, but even one of your closest, dearest friends, she left New York after we did, and she took a different job with the bank still.
Yep.
But to do that, like, we often think that, well, when I leave or quit, then I'm out of the picture. People aren't thinking of me anymore. Out of sight, out of mind was what I was thinking of. But that's not true at all. So you continue to make an impact, even for those people no longer even being there.
Well, I appreciate that. And, so another example, aside from the one that you just brought up, is someone actually did leave. And it's not that I wanted people to quit. Right. But this person wasn't aligned with the job that they were doing. Now they run their own business.
That's incredible.
I actually bought you some of her products.
I know.
And maybe we'll shout her out at some point, or maybe we'll have her on.
Yeah.
It was so exciting for me to see her chasing her passion, because look, I'm not saying that we were the ones that paved the way for her, but someone did.
Sure.
Right. And I think people looked at me and were like, their jaws dropped and hit the floor when I left, because I was like bleeding red. I think it was red, white, and blue, Bank of America logo or whatever. I was like bleeding Bank of America, right? Like, I was a company guy. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. Everybody knew it.
I still wear their shirts to bed.
So it's cool to see things like that happen. And so you just provided 3 examples. Someone left and is running their own business. Someone moved and is still at the bank. And somebody got promoted to the position that, man, they so deserved it, right? So just so exciting to see that stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are well over a half hour, so I want to put a bow on things here. We're going to open up a ton of episodes about the mindset around leaving, the money, the financials, RV life, working together, spouse, this, that, the other. But what I would love from the listeners is ideas on what the heck we should call these dual episodes. So I asked on Instagram the other day, and we got a couple different things that came in. So I'm going to give those examples here. We haven't landed on one yet, but play on words, which was Mike drop or Mike check when Mike comes on these episodes. Couples corner, we've got friends that do he said, she said, his and hers, executive marriage, Friday date. Not that these are going to come out on Friday.
We can't use Friday date.
No, our friends use that. So if you have any ideas, I'd love if you would text me, but not just ideas. If you have topics you want us to talk about, things that you want to ask Mike in particular, anything, we're totally open to speaking about all of it. Text me at 973-358-7836. And you can just go ahead and just text your question directly to me. So what questions do you have for Mike? What questions do you have do you have for us? We're working together. We are married. The dynamic of all of that. It could be RV life, dad, dog life, anything, hockey questions, doesn't really matter. So questions you have for us at 973-358-7836. And then if you have any ideas, cute names for what we could call these episodes, our goal is to get to a place where we're putting out one episode per week where it's Mike and I together, and we're going to keep them short and sweet 20-minute bites, quick little conversations of lots of things that we want to geek out on. So, Mike, I want to end it here and just ask you, what are some of your favorite things that you're most excited to talk about on the podcast, especially things that maybe I don't talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that we get asked the most is how do you work with your spouse? And when I first left my job, like, how do you deal with that mentally? Jess is it's Jess's business. How did you come into it? How do you guys do that? And then I think people are surprised when they hear that you call me the CEO, and we can jam out about that too. And then look, a lot of your audience, or a lot of the people that come through our flagship program, are looking to leave their jobs. I think I have a lot of value to add in terms of the mindset and the financial background around leaving your 9-to-5 and safety and not safety and kind of stretching yourself. And there's no right time, but I can certainly help with that conversation too. Yeah. And I'm just excited. Any questions? Nothing's off the table for us, right? Well, maybe some things. But
we'll let you know.
Yeah,
we'll let you know.
We'll let you know.
I think I'm most excited to have you also talk about stuff that I don't really talk about, even just base level conversations. Maybe it's a little bit of crypto, a little bit of NFTs, a little bit of how we diversify our income, where we put things, different buckets, hiring, talent, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think like we touched on like 50 potential episodes, but we would love to hear from you guys in terms of what you want to hear. And yeah.
So again, one last
Thanks for having me on, babe.
Yeah. Text us 973-358-7836. Questions, comments, concerns, and of course, what the heck we should call these episodes. As always, thanks for being here, and cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.